Hi everyone and welcome to another channeled messages reading. These messages are random guidances from our higher selves, our spirit guides, or generally from the divine intelligence based on synchronicity. So if you asked for divine guidance in the very recent past, there is a small chance to find a message for your situation in this reading. You don't have to choose any card, just listen through, take in what resonates and discard everything else. Now before I get into the reading, I would just like to mention that on a first view, there is a lot of karmic energy in this reading, and that might reflect that a massive karmic pivotal moment is approaching in all of our lives and even collectively. So this is one of those moments when I think we need to be aligned with our inner truth, regardless of what that is, more than ever. And this is where we just have to say no to every external philosophy, principle, faith, information, everything that simply doesn't resonate with who we are on a core soul level. And the reason I'm saying this is not everyone is meant to live an existence full of light, love, and, a certain kind of passivity which is attached to all of this. Because embodying peace, as in the exception of the Buddhist principles, does mean a certain kind of being like a passive observer. But this is one of those moments when this isn't the inner truth of everyone. Yes, absolutely, holding the peace and serenity and detaching and everything. The general, highest and most truthful and wise spiritual principles. And of course, naturally, under any other circumstance, embodying this energy, this truth, these philosophies is a wonderful and fantastic addition to all of our lives, and it does help greatly. But when there is a massive karmic pivotal moment, if this is not your truth, if this is only just a methodology, a coping mechanism which resonates with you, then you simply cannot force it upon you. This is the moment of truth, of absolute truth, when basically Mars squares Pluto. So that means that the very core of your divine identity is coming to the surface, like it or not. So this is where you just have to accept who and what and how you are. So the truth that is inside your heart and soul right now is the authentic you. So if you're a warrior, if you're a rebel, if you're a justice seeker, then forcing anything that doesn't resonate with that upon yourself in this very moment, well, that's not going to get you very far. This is where we just have to accept who we truly are. Of course, this doesn't mean that after we pass this moment, we cannot apply all of the philosophies and coping skills and everything, every experience that we learned all throughout life. But right now, in this moment in time, when we're going through a massive transformation, well, this is when we have to hold and embody who we truly are. And there is absolutely no shame in it. So now let's get on to the reading, where the first message is the Star card reversed, clarified by the Ace of Swords. Now this goes for someone who has taken a leap of faith recently, or maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and has been following that journey, but that journey really needed a lot of hope, a lot of faith, a lot of blindly following your passion and your truth, because the journey was so full of obstacles that even the simple fact that you are here now and the way your life is, even if it's not perfect, and chances are it's not as you expected it because the Star card is reversed. So even the way your life is right now is a huge miracle, because you actually fought against every single odd and you arose triumphant, victorious. you have made it, you have got yourself out of so many really, really difficult situations which could have simply ended your journey, and there were many of them. So even though your situation is not ideal right now, even though you can't really say that everything that was symbolically promised to you before you went on this journey, may it be promised intuitively by the divine intelligence or by your higher self, a spirit guide, it doesn't really matter from where that promise sources from, maybe from a dream or anything like that. So that promise isn't fulfilled 100%, but if you look at it from a totally different perspective, it is fulfilled because you are here, you are okay, you are more powerful than you could have ever imagined. You overcome all your limitations. You did things which were even beyond your imagination before you started out on this journey. So it really is a matter of perspective, but you do need a final and very potent, powerful moment of breakthrough. May it come from, inside of yourself, like a big inner impulse which just gets things done. May it be a fated event, may it be karma, it doesn't really matter what, but you truly need something to give a final meaning, if you understand what I'm saying, to all of this journey that you have traversed until this present moment. You need something like palpable, you need something to make all the small pieces of the puzzle fit into one big picture. And it's not just about, material situation or your personal security, safety, of course, or maybe your life path or everything that you want to achieve in this life or your future, anything like that. Of course, these are also very important, but it's not really just about all of these. These are actually in the present moment not that important. It is more like a personal relationship between you and the divine intelligence, where you're just waiting for a big moment, a manifestation or whatever, the fulfillment of the promises, etc., where you just need this in order to crystallize your devotion, your loyalty, and your trust in the divine intelligence. Because, you did everything in your power, you showed loyalty, you showed support, you showed that you're willing to follow certain guidance and certain divine messages blindly, even when they don't make sense when you receive them. But this trust, this loyalty, so to speak, has to be two-sided, as above, so below, as within, so without. So right now, it is the power, the force, the divine intelligence which steered you, which needs to show you its own devotion, trust, and faith in your cause. Basically, it is this psychological comfort, it is this gesture which can make your mind and your mental sphere, as in the Ace of Swords, perfectly aligned with the path you're following, so that you can immerse yourself deeply and endlessly in the story that you're living right now. And it is absolutely true that many things depend from us and from our inner reality and the inner truth, but there are also certain moments in life when that also needs to show up in a very palpable and crystal clear way on an external reality, on the outside. And this is one of those moments. And the Ace of Swords is a fantastic divine message of encouragement that it is absolutely coming your way. I think me telling you that it's not going to happen the way you expect it is already part of your normality. You kind of figured out that nothing is going to be the way you envisaged it or expected it. But this Ace of Swords goes beyond your expectations. And the very first sign of manifestation of this final moment of breakthrough, where you finally find your true path, where you finally achieve a true sense of alignment and alignment, of course, is going to come through either a massive inner epiphany, or a communication, or a feedback, or a projection from someone else, someone on the outside, potentially on the internet. But either way, this is going to be really, really relevant, because it's going to open new doors of opportunities for you. But this time, it is not just a thought, not just a random idea, but this is where you're going straight to the target. This is where you're going to hit bullseye in an instant. So basically, the essence of this message is, don't be afraid, do not worry. You weren't led astray, not even for a second. Everything that was promised to you is entering reality, and it is already happening. It is in the now. So you just need to keep your senses and your awareness open and active, and it is coming. It is not going to disappoint you, or even if it is, in the most positive and delightful sense possible. Now going to the second message, this isn't really as optimistic and as hopeful as the messages I usually like to deliver. We have here the 7 of coins reversed and the 6 of coins reversed. Now this is a karmic lesson for someone who has truly immersed themselves in the highest principle of charity, unconditionality. You might have invested a lot of effort, a lot of work, maybe resources for years now into either, a project or a work or anything that benefited other people. And naturally, it wasn't easy. It was extraordinarily hard. It really, really tested all your patience, all your power, even, most importantly, your faith, because when reality shows you the opposite of what you believe in, well, then the only way you can succeed is to just push on, hold on to your faith, to your principles, and simply just close your eyes to what external reality shows you, and try to be as hopeful as possible, and try to take comfort and rejoice in the good that you do in the world. But there was one calculation, so to speak, in your plan or this project which you didn't really expect to turn out the opposite way, to be totally honest with you. But it kind of did, and you might not really understand why you weren't supported by the highest forces, because you actually based all your work and effort onto it, and you were hoping to generate sufficient good karma for yourself to just support you or keep yourself and your work and your charitable cause in existence. And it didn't really turn out that way. And this is because not everyone deserves charity. This is a very horrible and, almost soul-shattering truth to speak out. But in some cases, this is actually true, especially in this age and day. Some people just fake their own disadvantages, their suffering. They victimize themselves. And with that, they just draw on the compassion of other people, but this is where their greed has no bounds. So if they meet someone naive or idealistic enough to just keep on believing infinitely that they're in pain, that they're suffering, and they base their well-being on the charity of other people, well, this is the moments when we have to apply the opposite of mercy or compassion, as in sovereignty and severity, because otherwise these people will take away the true charity and help from all those truly disadvantaged souls, or whatever your purpose or the main goal of your project or charity was. And this was the big karmic lesson that you had to learn. In truth, this isn't like a big spiritual lesson, because spirituality would tell you perhaps quite the opposite. But in an imperfect, a material world, we live in the world of matter, and it is the collective consciousness of humankind which determines even the karmic rules of how they should be playing out here in Earth, so to speak. And if collective consciousness is ruled by greed and, insatiable hunger and the ego, well then this is where such high ideals simply cannot exist. And also, if the divine has to protect free will, the sovereignty and sanctity of free will most of all, then it cannot really change this unless people change from within, and that takes maybe eons. So this is where you had to learn this lesson the hard way, but don't take it personally. If anything, the biggest spiritual lesson, which is actually spiritual and it doesn't depend on the collective consciousness and how our times are, has to do with the shadow, our shadows. Modern spirituality has a war against shadow and it tries to eliminate it, but in truth, this is where everything in existence has a role, including the shadow, including our bias, including our judgment, including our inner aggression. So there are times in life when we actually have to listen to the shadow, because it is the shadow which can hold wisdom when it comes to, earthly matters. So basically this is a lesson to you that of course we shouldn't judge anyone and everyone is equal, etc. That is absolutely fine. But when that someone is an active part of your life or wishes something from you, well then it is your sacred duty to judge and protect your own being. We are not saints here, and chances are that we live such turbulent and never seen before times. We're embodying the archetype of a saint or a perfectly immaculate person is actually a quick way to total demise and suicide. And this goes against spiritual principles, because one of the biggest lessons and the biggest role that we actually are born with is service to the self, in the sense that we have to protect our beings, we have to protect our bodies, we have to protect our integrity from every single perspective. And this is where we cannot base 100 million% on the divine to offer this to us. It has to be like a teamwork. And when protecting yourself, it is as simple as saying no, well then the divine cannot intervene and say that no on your behalf. It is actually the role of your inner warrior to say that no and block out those souls, those beings from your life which do not belong there. So this was the lesson that you had to learn, that rather than to beat your shadow to submission, become best friends with it and trust its judgment when its judgment is crystal clear. But the larger perspective, so to speak, where this unfortunate experience is leading you to, well, that is a much greater and healthier sense of self-worth. And on the other hand, it is the awakening of your inner warrior when you actually saw and you tried everything in your power to live a life of total compassion and charity and to be fully aligned with the spiritual principles. But when not even the universe desires that for you, well, that is when you have to stand up for yourself and just show your teeth, your fangs, your claws whenever life demands this from you. And basically, this leads you to perhaps the biggest soul level duty that you have in this current incarnation, and you don't even know about this. That is to create happiness for yourself, because chances are a person who can embody such high energy and frequency of compassion has been doing this over and over again in all your previous existences. And that is exactly, you were born in this day and age when it is really not your duty to live a life of unlimited compassion, because if that would be your sole duty, maybe you would be a multi-millionaire because the universe has to give you the resources, but you only received inner resources, which means that you inherited them from your past existences and no one can take those away from you. But at the same time, this is where you should really just create happiness for yourself and live it, because that is why you were truly born here. And being happy, nurturing yourself, and just being absolutely fine with yourself, it is not a crime, it is not a sin, it is not selfish, it is actually the essence of why you are here right now. Everything else that you do, and everything else that is in your power, and you saw how many things are in your power, it is just a bonus. So fortunately or unfortunately, depends on how you look at it, it took this not so pleasant experience to get to the essence of what you actually have to do in this life, which may be much more simpler than you could have ever imagined, because that is finding your own happiness, and other people and even the whole world and society and anything in it doesn't have to be part of it whatsoever, because if you've done that all your previous existences, that kind of means that your soul is really tired and it needs food and nourishment, and that nourishment is happiness. So if you choose a life of happiness, regardless of what happiness means to you personally, this is where you have such a good karma that you can actually permit yourself to immerse into anything that your heart desires. So that is actually what you should be doing without a second thought. Of course, when you stand from a position, when your life is happy, when you're just okay with everything in your life and yourself, well then you have so much free power inside of you, and you can use that any way you like. If you want to share it with others, that's absolutely fine, as long as your own safety and happiness is always on the first place. For the third message, we have the Two of Coins reversed, clarified by the Magician. Now this speaks to someone who in the recent past, for example, since from the beginning of 2020, has set out on a path to accomplish a massive material change in their lives. This material change doesn't exactly mean as in income, finances, etc., but rather maybe a profession, a new profession that you would like to learn. It could also be a totally new lifestyle, as in new daily routines, doing something that you're passionate about, and you just need that surrounding or lifestyle or upgraded routine, so to speak, which can permit you to do what you love, do what you are passionate about. It could also mean that you might want to go freelance, you want to work for yourself, you want to try out something that you've always been guided to or motivated to, but you just need, basically your material life to fall into a certain kind of configuration which permits this to you. So, for example, some people might need to move from where they live in the present moment because it is their living conditions that don't permit this. Other people have to change jobs. Other people have to finish a course or do some research or studies. Other people need to do some paperwork, complete some formalities, etc. But of course, none of this is new. You knew from the very beginning that it will take some time and a lot of hair splitting and everything falling into place to actually allow you that transformation which you wanted to experience. But since the Two of Coins is reversed, where the basic big picture meaning of the Two of Coins is status quo, and that absolutely doesn't happen overnight if the change is so profound. But the problem is maybe the global situation, or maybe simply your karma has blocked so very many things, so you find it really, really difficult to shift, to change, or to enact the changes, even though inside of you everything makes such perfect sense, everything is crystal clear, you know what you have to do, you know the requirements, you stand from a place of realism. That is exactly why you kind of know that if it would be up to you 100%, you would have already completed this transformation. You would already be in your position that you desire to be in. So you might think that maybe karma or the divine intelligence or fate or something which is above you is kind of doing something, complicating your situation or trying to maybe keep you in chains so you don't make a mistake, etc. But maybe the magician is telling you that the situation is much more simpler than you could possibly imagine. This is where the universe is just trying to manifest your desire, but not in a human way, or better said, not in a linear, not in a logical way, not the way something like this is usually accomplished or achieved. That is why you have so many moments of blockages, moments when things just don't make sense. And if you're someone who has lost over the course of the last 2 weeks or 2 months a lot of social connections, a lot of bigger opportunities, well, these are actually very, very favorable signs, because it means that the universe is getting ready to connect you to wherever and whatever you need to have in your life to allow you to live what you desired in a much more easier and less complicated way than to do it, the classical or the traditional way. So basically the magician is telling you, the more connections or opportunities or whatever you lose in this present moment, well, don't be afraid, don't worry, don't panic. This is a very, very good sign, because something bigger and much more ideal is manifesting for you. And the first signs of communication, because in this specific deck, as you can see, the magician is actually Hermes, the god of communication, the divine messenger. So something is heading your way which can actually open new doors for you which you might have not expected. For example, maybe the new life or new position, basically the social position that you want to experience, as in maybe if you want to be a freelancer, then that. If you want a business of your own, then that. If you want a specific career, then naturally that. But it might not be in the place, as in the maybe city, town, local community that you are in the present moment. So maybe it will take a journey or a relocation, and for other people maybe abroad or in a different organization, a different culture, a different place in the world, a different group. So basically be ready for surprises, because this manifestation of what you asked for is going to take you away from your normal, natural surroundings, and there might be a lot of travel involved here. But, the reason why you weren't guided for this specific way events are going to be playing out was because maybe you don't really want to move. This was never in your plan. Maybe you might think that this would complicate your life much more than the good it would do you. So that's why exactly the universe kept this kind of hidden from you, or this option, this version of events wasn't something that was inspired to you divinely or through your intuition. So don't worry, just be open to the surprise when it comes your way. Now for the next message, we have the strength clarified by the Chariot reversed. Now this goes for a person who has been progressing with very many things in their lives in the recent past. So it was a very favorable progress. Things did come together. Divine guidance was simply present in your life every single moment. And it was really, really hopeful because very many things came together almost miraculously with great ease. Like you could truly tell that there was a divine plan playing out before your very eyes. But the problem is that divine intervention, that powerful guidance, things coming together as in a charm, like a miracle, like magic, has suddenly stopped, and you might not really know why. You might think, have you done something wrong? Have you upset the divine intelligence with something? Or has your luck truly ran out and from now on you're on your own? Well, none of this is the case, but rather quite the opposite. Until this present moment, the divine had to guide you, it had to support you, it had to make certain things easy for you, because you surrendered all of that. You trusted the divine. Of course, nothing has changed. You still surrendered, you still trusted, but this is where right now the divine itself has reached a standstill where it is really, really up to your preferences, what you desire, how you would like your life to be, or everything that symbolizes that chariot, as in your goals, your ambitions, your project, everything that you want to evolve and progress with in your life. So basically right now the divine needs your express input. So the reason why this chariot is reversed, so the divine intervention has stopped, is because you have to ambition yourself. You have to embody that strength card, as in the lion, as in the truth that burns inside your heart. This is where you can't really surrender anything to the divine's preference. This is where you have to tell the divine what you want, how you want it, where you want it, which direction you want to progress towards. And truth be told, this kind of requires you to embody your ego, your sovereign will. This is exactly one of those moments when it should be your way or the highway, because the divine is absolutely ready to cooperate with you. So all you need to do is just express your sovereign will and not give options, not give different kind of scenarios to the divine. Don't surrender. This is where make up your mind, embody your passion, your will, your sovereignty, the divine masculine, so to speak, and just tell the divine where things should be heading towards, and that is exactly where things will take you in the very close future. So as soon as you embody this singularity of your will, things will start moving again like a charm, because all of this was planned for you. Now, of course, the chariot can also represent, especially in reverse position, that your inner truth might not be crystal clear to you. You might not know exactly what you desire. You might be oscillating between different versions, different preferences, and you might want to trick the divine to choose in your place, but that is not gonna happen, unfortunately. This is where you actually have to choose. You have to, as in, tune onto one of the versions which you would prefer the most, and that is what the divine mind will work with. So if you're a little bit confused deep inside of you, this is where you can't really surrender it. This is where you just have to work it out for yourself, and then things will definitely get back on track like a charm. The next message, we have the Awakening, which is the Judgment card in Classic Tarot, and the Seven of Air. Now the Judgment card tells you that in the recent past, or maybe the last 2 years, you had a totally different kind of spiritual awakening, as in absolutely not like the mainstream one. It is not all about love and, positivity, peace, light, etc. It was like very strong and powerful revelations, maybe about secrets, for example, the illusionary nature of all reality, as in really, really hard and heavy stuff like that. And naturally, it shocked you, it changed you profoundly, it changed your perception, it changed your life philosophies, it changed your life views. But the immediate effect that it had on you wasn't very pleasant, because of course this sent you into a certain kind of confusion. There were a lot of dichotomies and inner paradoxes which you just had to make sense of mentally, etc. And the most unpleasant effect was actually on your human self, if we can call it that way, because your mind and heart and psyche and every other part of your being can go as high as it wants to, but you still have to live a human life, so to speak, and you have no options there. You can't exit. You can't run in Tibet, for example, and spend the next 10 years of your life just figuring things out. You still have to live as a human being, and that is why this really disturbed you from very many perspectives, because having this kind of epiphanies, knowledge, realization, being so in tune with almost like a quantic type of perspective is not an easy thing. It is heavy, and it's like it makes your cross 10 million times heavier, because you will know the illusionary nature of almost everything that you do most part of your life. Or basically it just reveals to you what a double life we truly live. But the Seven of Air is a very powerful and beautiful divine inspiration, because it tells you that you have actually reached the moment when you can integrate everything within yourself. This is where the human that you are can actually exist and live normally without any kind of hindrance or inner pressure or fear of descending into madness and insanity because of your epiphanies and your realizations. So you have already reached an inner order. So the Seven of Air is where you have the path, you have the map, you have the inner GPS. So you're actually going on the right direction. This is where everything that has happened to you is going to be a massive blessing to you. On one hand, you are not the only person who has experienced this roughly the same time as you have. So you're eventually destined to meet other people and be part of at least a group or a community. And that will open so very many opportunities and doors for you, where you can not only just walk your path and live in perfect authenticity, but if you have other people who understand you, who see things the same way, and who are uniquely alchemizing basically all of this experience along with you, well, that basically means that you are entering into a new dimension where you don't have to be alone, where you have the highest goals which other souls share with you. That means that you are going to be part of a community who is going to explore all of this together. So that means mutual help. That means a totally different kind of career or lifestyle, etc. So there is so much happiness and, the potential to do what you truly love and what you were created for in the future. So this is really, really good news. This is when all the revelations and epiphanies and all the truth that were basically exposed before your very eyes are going to make a lot of sense, and not just philosophically, but very practically. This is where you are going to start working with it along with other people, and right now you already have a map in your hands which will guide you to exactly where you need to be. And the last message, we have the Three of Coins reversed, clarified by the Two of Cups. Now this is also a really beautiful message, because the Three of Coins reversed represents that someone out there is losing their jobs, their livelihoods, their career is being terminated, and naturally this is really, really bad for them, because it triggers their fears, their insecurities. It is lived through as a disaster, even though that right now your job or career or livelihood, the basic expression of that Three of Coins is not yet over, it's not terminated, but either you can already rationally, logically, through your vast life experience, know that all paths are leading that way, so that will be absolutely inevitable in the rather close future, or that it simply would be illogical to keep on doing what you're doing now, either because it is actually a source of unhappiness and pain, so you have to give up psychologically for your psychological well-being, and basically life gives you no other choice right now, or because it can basically have much to do with the present moment, global, social, economic, political situation, where, a lot of jobs, a lot of businesses and everything are terminating from one day to the next. So, of course, this can have a very negative impact on you. But the beautiful part of this message is that you have no idea in this present moment that it's really not bad news for you, because that Two of Cups represents two possible situations. So if you are single, this Two of Cups represents that you're losing your job or livelihood, etc., as a karmic pivotal moment which has to unite you with your future lover, your soulmate, your twin flame, your next partner, your new long-term relationship, so to speak. So it is a person who you're going to get connected to, but if you'd have your job, or if your life materially, financially, work and career-wise, so to speak, would be ideal without any single problems, this meeting of the two fates, the two destinies, could not come together. And the other thing is, this partner of yours is definitely going to have your back. So materially speaking, you have really nothing to worry about, because this is going to be your saving grace, and you don't even expect it. So basically, someone is coming in your life to save you, and most definitely you're gonna work together. Maybe have a business, or maybe a certain skill of yours will connect you to them, but either way you're gonna be more than okay. Now the other case is for those who are naturally not single, as in they already have an established bond, so the Two of Cups won't represent romantic relationship, but someone in your life who is already present is already contemplating, thinking, planning to offer you either a new job or ask you to be part of something which is gonna be just as good as a new job, new career, etc. So you might be feeling the doom and gloom of an imminent loss, but someone in your life is already planning to invite you to start a new career, even if they don't even know in the present moment that you're having problems or that you are ultimately going to lose your job. So what a wonderful divine synchronicity is going to be when that person who is already contemplating is going to find out that you're in real danger, and then It will motivate them and inspire them much more to just come forward with their offer and just communicate whatever they have been thinking. So chances are it's gonna give birth to a new career or a new job for you or for the both of you. Well, this concludes the reading. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like a personal reading, personal guidance, just log on to our website 1millionnights.com, where you can find a dedicated advisor who would love nothing more than to share their gifts with you, help you and guide you with their spiritual powers. Thank you once again for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Until next time, bye for now.